Okay, class, welcome to week two. Here we are. And, what I'm finding with your work is what I usually find with my students is that um, people, students rather do the assignments and they do it well or they don't do it. And so I'm kind of, in that situation again where, um, I'm rather having people not turn in work or turn in high quality work. And some of you did misunderstand the video notes assignments and are having the opportunity to turn in more of the notes to me by midnight tonight, right? Um, I just want to remind all of you to really communicate with me, as there is any need, you have any confusion. Calling me and texting me is the best. I still get emails from you guys. You're not, it's okay if you do that. I just want you to know that I take much longer to get to return emails. For one, I don't know why, but they send so many emails that I don't even need into my the MJC email box, and I will go over my emails and not see that you sent me something, and then I go back 2 days later and it was sent. I don't know. Somehow I overlooked it, or I don't really understand why there's that problem. So it's just, again, that would be the normal way to get a hold of your professor in a class that's not online. But for me, and especially because I'm about as busy as most of you are with doing so much, it just helps me. And I think most of you are finding out that when you call and text me, most of the time I get a hold of you immediately. And I just kind of want to remind you that if it's been over 24 hours from any time you've tried to contact me through email, phone call, or text, and I have not returned it, something went wrong and you need to try to call me again. And I don't consider that you're pestering me. I want, I failed you, or our technology failed us. Something happened. So just, we should be able to make contact within 24 hours, okay? Um, the other side of this, though, is let's try texting me not later than 8 if possible on many days. And just remember, I try to get back to you right away, but I need at least 24 hours to in all due fairness. That's my written obligation to you, right? So, when assignments are coming up, like this week, I just posted this week's assignments. Please, please, please look at them, anticipate any issues you might have, and try to get a hold of me before the day of the assignment. Okay, that's important, and that's going to get old for me, to be honest. As much as I like to be flexible for you, if I'm always getting a ton of questions several hours before the assignments due. I'm not saying that it's a problem if that happens once in a while and whatever, but if I get a lot of that all the time, I don't know. Just please, let's try to avoid that. That's all. So first of all, again, I'm happy. I want to remind you that I don't put a lot of comments on your papers and your notes, but I do look at them quite thoroughly. If you want more, or you don't like the minimal feedback, I will provide it for you. I'm really happy seeing the papers. I've had a few already come in for the Sunday that really speak in your own voice. And you're telling me back, your thoughts about Ivan the Terrible and absolutism. And it's really clear that you're writing in your own voice, and you're demonstrating to me that you have an understanding of the material. I'm very happy with that. Okay, and those kind of papers, you just have no idea how happy I am to read those. Unfortunately, I've already caught 2 papers that are doing very, very overt plagiarism. And so here's what plagiarism is. Plagiarism is when you cut and paste material and you don't give credit to where that material came from. Now, I told all of you that if you use, and so just to clarify, if there's any question on this, all you need is the textbook and the videos I have you watch. That's my voice lectures and the documentaries. If you use information from those, you don't need to say, make a reference to them in your papers. If you do a direct quote from my lectures, the documentaries, or the textbook, I just want you to make some sort of reference to them. Chicago style has a very specific style of referencing footnotes to things, and MLA does, and so forth. I told you that you are not required to do that for these assignments. But as long as you're giving credit where credit's due. Plagiarism is a very serious issue within, college. Sometimes people did something and they didn't quite realize it, and it really, I get it. These two papers are pretty straightforward. So here's what I want to tell you. If you are doubting yourself, you're probably not the ones who did the plagiarism. These are, you know what you did. So I'm going to give you, those of you who did this, the plagiarized your papers, till this upcoming Friday to think about how you want to address this to me. I want you to own up to it, and then I can decide what we want to do. If you do not contact me by Friday, fessing up and explaining yourself, I am going to make the full consequence upon you for doing this. Okay, you can't do this. Okay, and I can't let that slide for you. So it's time to be responsible. I've actually had very responsible, hardworking students who even did great work, and this at the end they're overwhelmed, and it was just too easy, the temptation. I want to knock this temptation out of your system. Don't do it. No plagiarism. Okay. It's not that hard for us. For once we notice something, we catch you. And maybe some of you have already did this and haven't been caught. It's not if, it's when. Okay? It's not hard, and I can explain a million reasons why. I don't want to bore you with the details. Consider me the Sherlock Holmes of papers. I know this material, okay? And I know language, and I know what language I expect from you and what comes out, and like when there's a suspicious whatever. Anyways, I don't need to go on this anymore, okay? So just don't. Now, on a more positive note, like I said, I'm very happy with most of what I see, and I'm going to post an essay underneath with this video announcement by a Russian intellect who's a right-wing intellect, very controversial, that is very pro-Putin and in Russia. And why I want you to read it is because he compares Putin to, he talks about Stalin and Ivan the Terrible, and the way that he constructs the idea of looking at Russia's ancient past to now. And I want to show you how what you just learned in this portion of history, how this is so applicable to even now, and the way that a Russian nationalist intellectual would look at the future of Russia and the way that their leaders should interact with their citizens or subjects, okay, and international relations and so on. So I want to do that for you, just to take a look at that and see if the ideas that you just learned might not help you understand this article. And I want to say happy Father's Day. I got to have a great Father's Day breakfast and afternoon with my daughter, and then I came home to do some more grading, and now I'm going to do laundry and try to clean the house and grade more papers. So, that's how we do, right? And if you don't have a father, I have father issues. I'll just be totally honest. My father's got a lot of problems, and I have a friend who lost his child tragically. These kind of holidays can do a number on us. They can be the most positive and happy things. If you lost your father that you loved, or you didn't have a good father, these hit us hard. And then if you have a great family, you might be really distracted from doing your work this Sunday. I hope, though, that ultimately, on this Father's Day, that you're finding some peace and happiness within it, some proper reflection. And that again, as we go forward into Western civilization and history, this is an opportunity to really think about the world we live in our lives and the grand scheme of being a human. We are covering the French Revolution now in this portion, this next week. It's so important, such an important revolution, cannot overstate it. The American Revolution becomes important in certain ways, the war for independence, but there's something about the French Revolution, okay? It ends up influencing the communist revolution in Russia, and they use it as a model. And when I was taking world history and I was studying Asia and the Islamic world, the one thing that I really started to notice is how, as France colonized Africa and the Middle East, many Africans and French, sometimes in Asia, same thing would happen like in Vietnam, where the French colonized them. The educated nationalists of these countries would read about the French Revolution, you know, a black African or an Arab or Vietnamese, and they would say, this is a pretty good idea what these French have about killing and overthrowing their oppressors, you know, in a violent revolution. And so it's been interesting to me to see how the French Revolution is kind of almost blown up back in the face of the French all the time when they're promoting this idea of violence and liberty and then oppressing other people or taking over their land, and then those people going, you know, by the way, you guys do have some good ideas, I have to say, you know. So the French Revolution, it's interesting in the way that it's also translated over into world culture as well. You know, and you know, the rest of the world may not always embrace a democratic republic the way that the United States has, but many people have understood what it means to want to kick out foreigners from occupying their countries. Let's be real. That's what I'm just saying. I mean, I say this as a historian, okay? So there's a lot to reflect upon. Look, you know, a lot of stuff's always going on, and as a person who reads history a lot, I'm always blown away and saying, gosh, I wish people would read this stuff more, break it down. So I hope you have a nice rest of your weekend, and we'll be in touch as needed.